The following moment in Congress didn't just reveal a political misstep, it became a case study in self-inflicted embarrassment. What began as an ordinary flow session quickly spiraled into a masterclass of unintentional irony, delivered by none other than Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene herself. What made it all the more devastating was not just the blunder, but who was watching and how she responded. Jasmine Crockett, calm, calculated, and razor-sharp, turned the slip into a thunderous takedown without even raising her voice. As cameras captured every eye roll, smirk, and pointed remark, the chamber transformed into a live theater of consequences, with Greene unintentionally cast as both villain and victim in her own performance. In a chamber where every word is scrutinized, every gesture magnified, and every error immortalized, Greene's cell phone will live on not just as a meme, but as a moment that laid bare the deep rot of performative politics. As the gavel dropped to open the floor, the day promised nothing more than typical partisan grandstanding. Members of Congress took their turns addressing bills and resolutions, many trying to slide in a few quotable jabs for the cameras. But when Marjorie Taylor Greene took the podium, the energy shifted, not because of gravitas, but because of her now infamous reputation for bringing heat rather than substance. Her opening remarks were no different, targeting what she claimed was democratic overreach, liberal elitism, and the destruction of American values. It was a greatest hits package of culture war rhetoric, the kind designed to stir up her base and draw applause from cable news hosts later that night. With forceful gestures and dramatic pauses, she hammered away at topics like immigration, border security, and crime. Then came the moment that turned everything upside down. Holding up a printed copy of what she claimed was a disastrous, democratic bill, she began reading from it, quoting language meant to stoke outrage. "This is what they're pushing," she sneered. "This garbage right here is the kind of legislation that rewards criminals and punishes hardworking Americans." The problem? The document she was waving wasn't authored by Democrats at all. It was a bipartisan bill on prison reform, something Greene herself had not only supported but co-sponsored just 8 months earlier. A copy of the bill had been circulating among Republican lawmakers who were trying to score points on both sides of the aisle. Somehow, Greene failed to recognize the language she had once praised as a step toward restoring fairness in the system. And there she stood, frothing with indignation, denouncing her own work. At first, a few murmurs rippled across the chamber. It was subtle, side glances, furrowed brows. Crockett, who had been calmly taking notes, paused. Her pen stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes lifted toward Greene, and the corners of her mouth curled ever so slightly. At first glance, it looked like simple confusion, but the gears were already turning. Greene, oblivious, pressed on. "These so-called reforms are giving violent criminals second chances while law-abiding Americans struggle under the weight of this government's failures." Her voice grew louder, almost triumphant, as if she believed she was cornering the opposition. But the only person she was cornering was herself. Crockett leaned slightly to her right and whispered something to a fellow member, something that made them visibly stifle a laugh. It was like a pin had dropped, and all of a sudden, reality burst into the chamber. Within seconds, the room began to shift. Whispers became chuckles. Chuckles turned into muffled laughter. Across the aisle, lawmakers scrambled to fact-check what they'd just heard. Staffers looked around in disbelief, confirming that yes, Greene was attacking a bill with her own signature on it. Representative Ayanna Pressley leaned toward Rep. Raskin and whispered, "Is she really reading from her own bill?" Raskin shook his head with a bemused smile and said, "Welcome to the Twilight Zone." But Jasmine Crockett didn't rush to the mic. She waited, allowing Greene to complete the full loop of irony before stepping in. When Greene finally paused for effect, the awkward silence that followed was deafening. And then, in what felt like a perfectly timed response from the universe itself, Crockett's laugh cut through the air, not mocking, not cruel, but unmistakably real. The kind of laugh you can't fake when someone walks into their own trap. "Madam Speaker," Crockett began as she stood, eyes fixed on Greene, "I think I speak for many of us when I say, that was something." The room chuckled again, louder this time. Greene squinted, unsure whether she was being praised or ridiculed. But for clarity, Crockett continued, "I'd like to remind the representative that the document she just read, word for word, is her own proposal from last session. It's still in the congressional record. We can provide receipts." Gasps, audible laughter, a few scattered claps. Greene looked stunned. "No, that's not. I was quoting a bill introduced by," she stammered, flipping through pages as her staffer quickly approached, whispering in her ear. And in that moment, the color drained from her face. It hit her like a freight train. She had stood there, confidently tearing apart her own legislative work, and now the world was watching. Crockett seized the moment, not with venom, but precision. This is what happens when you come to this floor looking for viral clips instead of doing your homework. When you treat Congress like a podcast set, not a place of lawmaking. We deserve better. The American people deserve better. What followed was pandemonium. Members exchanged high fives. Phones lit up as reporters tweeted the moment. Within minutes, hashtags like #GreenWe'sGreen and #SelfRoast began trending. Meme accounts turned Greene's photo into a parody movie poster titled, "The Roast of Marjorie Taylor Greene," starring Marjorie Taylor Greene. Outside, reporters swarmed for interviews. Greene tried to spin it, claiming Democrats were twisting her words and accusing them of orchestrating a smear campaign, despite video evidence clearly showing her own statements. But Crockett didn't have to say anything more. Her reaction, calm, composed, and devastatingly authentic, had already said everything. Later that evening, news programs looped the footage. MSNBC analysts chuckled through breakdowns. Even some conservative pundits struggled to defend Greene. One Fox contributor quipped, "Look, I support Marjorie, but this was rough. You can't dunk on your own team's hoop and expect applause." But the brilliance of Crockett's response wasn't just in the moment, it was in the aftermath. She followed it up with a concise but powerful post on X. "Know your policies. Know your record. And for God's sake, know what you're quoting before you step to the mic." It was retweeted tens of thousands of times within the first hour. Celebrities chimed in. Political satirists had a field day. Meanwhile, in interviews, Crockett remained poised. "This isn't about dunking on someone," she said. "This is about accountability. If you're going to make accusations, you'd better know what you are talking about. The American people are tired of performative outrage. They want results. They want facts." The moment marked a turning point, not just in Greene's credibility, but in Crockett's reputation. Once viewed as a rising star, she now stood solidly as a congressional powerhouse. Someone who didn't just fight back, but did so with style, intelligence, and the kind of composure that left opponents scrambling. Her poise wasn't just refreshing, it was formidable. In the days that followed, think pieces emerged dissecting the moment. Some political strategists labeled it the Crockett Doctrine: let your opponent self-destruct, then strike with fact, humor, and clarity. Activist groups began circulating clips as educational tools. College debate teams broke it down frame by frame. And perhaps most telling, Greene didn't bring up the incident again. She moved on quickly, avoided media questions, and shifted focus to unrelated issues. The silence, for someone so famously loud, was damning. But Jasmine Crockett? She didn't just let the moment speak for itself, she used it to reinforce a deeper message. Politics shouldn't be about who can yell the loudest, she said in a town hall that weekend. It should be about who understands what they're fighting for. Words matter, records matter, and if we lose sight of that, we all lose. In a time when political theater often outweighs policy depth, this moment became a reminder that substance still matters, and that people like Jasmine Crockett are ready to expose the farce when others forget they're on record. It wasn't just about one mistake. It was about a larger pattern of bluster over clarity, drama over truth. And Crockett, with her sharp intellect and unwavering poise, became the antidote to that spectacle. So if you found this moment as wild, hilarious, and revealing as we did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss another iconic political takedown. Because as long as people like Marjorie Taylor Greene keep stepping into their own traps, and Jasmine Crockett keeps responding with this level of precision, you can be sure the next eruption in Congress is just around the corner, and we'll be right here to break it down for you.